important to make sure that you're operating within a feasible structure that whatever niche or industry you're in finds value in. A lot of people, when they get into business, they don't understand that there is a perspective of how much money a service should be worth or how much a product should be worth. And by understanding how your supply and demand curves more or less intersect, you can find that perfect price. And it's going to be different for every niche. In plumbing, it's much different than carpet cleaning. In SaaS, it's much different than plumbing. So it's important to do the consumer research and to have a business plan set forth before just jumping in. But I do think that it is important to, at some point, go all in. If you never go all in, you're never going to put 100% into what you're doing because the risk and reward ratio isn't high enough. You're always going to have one toe in the water, one foot in the door, and you're never actually going to propel yourself into, what I call the obviously uncomfort zone. And that's where growth takes place.
So Cody, I gotta call you out a little bit because on Andrew Martinez's podcast that we were on last week, I wasn't using my Shure microphone and I didn't realize it until the episode came out literally yesterday. And I was using my computer audio. I sounded super trebly and you sounded super good. So I just thought as a homie, you would have said something.
I didn't realize until you told me right now. So that's how that is.
Did you listen to the episode?
Nope, have not.
Disappointed. All right, everybody. Normally you sit here, everybody sits here for like 10, 15 minutes while Cody and I just talk about random crap. But
we're only wasting each other's time when we do that. But I guess the people who are listening to, sorry. But we're wasting a guest's time today. So
yeah,
it's a special episode.
First time we've ever had a guest on the podcast, and we haven't wanted to have guests on the podcast before because we actually thought it was lazy. Actually, that's what everybody else does, is just have guests on and interview them. But we've actually got Schieler on the call, who is also a marketing agency owner and owns and admins the Google SEO Mastermind group on Facebook with about 120,000 members in it. And Schieler, we just tried recording this a little bit ago, but your computer internet was just awful. So now we've got Schieler calling in and it just sounds so crisp.
It's good.
So I also learned that your last name is Mew, like the Pokemon, which I think is the coolest thing ever. But no one's going to hear the joke that I made in the last recording, which was, they will now because I'm going to say it. But if you ever met somebody else, the last name of Mew, and they were like, yeah, I'm a Mew too, that would be sweet. I would love to be there.
I appreciate that you appreciate it.
Well, so let's give Schieler, just give us tell us who you are and what you do. Because I mean we can give you the intro, but I think it's also beneficial when we just let you say what you want first and how you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure, of course. Schieler. I run Service Lifter, which is a digital marketing agency, full service. We've been in business for about 2.5, 3 years, going on 3 years now this October. I also run Google SEO Mastermind, which to my knowledge is one of the largest or the largest SEO platforms on Facebook for members, which has been a blessing to help grow that community. Outside of that, just a stay-at-home hermit trying to make the world a better place, one search engine page at a time, I guess.
Schieler, you and I actually met in your group. Actually, you were looking for an admin, and I was like, "Hey, I can help admin because there's a bunch of crap that I see that I'm like, this should not be here." So that I became a mod for you, but then you had posted a video about an August/September, October Google algorithm update regarding location pages and duplicate content. And at the time, I was following this pretty heavily as well. So I reached out to you and was like, hey, I want to know more information because I'm going to take this to search engine land. And so you and I hopped on a call and talked more about what you were seeing in your own Search Console data and what was kind of a correlation between the Google spam update and all of your clients. But then with Schuyler's help, we got published in search engine land, which is a big win for me, but also a big win for Google SEO Mastermind, as I did link to that group in the article.
Much appreciated.
But you had to go through a little hoop for me, because you had to take your video from Google SEO Mastermind, a private group, and then upload it to YouTube. So then I could link it in the article, because the editor would not allow the link in there for the video if it was in a private group. So much appreciated in return. But just a little background on mine and Schuyler's history. Cody's got tons and tons of questions, though, because I mean, most of the reason why people are listening to this episode is either because they're following the podcast, or the title of them just jumped out at them and they just can't believe their brains.
Yeah.
Exploded.
Which I do want to get to. I kind of like to get towards that a little bit further towards the end, about like your service model, your pricing model, and the differences between the things that other people are doing. But I think a lot of the time when people are like our audience, you know, we talk about growing an agency, building an agency. So either they're, you know, most likely early on in that process, maybe they aren't even there yet, they're considering jumping ship. But when you're in that headspace, I think it's important to keep a sense of reality in mind, and not compare, like, you know, your step 1 to someone's step 50. And I mean, no doubt you're much further ahead than them. So would you mind sharing a little bit about your like background? And I don't even mean just work background, but like, how did you grow up? What was your life like? Was marketing in your life? Was entrepreneurship in your life? What did it look like growing up when you were a little kid, and before you even got into this? Were there any ideas that this would be something that you would get into later on?
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up in poverty, more or less. You know, owning a house, making more than minimum wage wasn't even a consideration to my family. Not my mom, not my grandma. My dad wasn't around, and my stepdad didn't come into the picture until, you know, later. But no, marketing was definitely not in the scope of even what I understood was available in terms of options out there, right? I wanted to be in law enforcement, actually, and I started to pursue a little bit of a career in that, which somehow snowballed into marketing, because I had to stay at home to raise my daughter and a few other things that kind of escalated to that point. But ultimately, no, I didn't even know this world existed. I had no idea what, you know, affiliate marketing was, what an agency was, what freelancing was. None of that. Just it was not on the horizon for me at all.
What got you into it?
Like I said, I was a stay-at-home dad at one point in time for my daughter. Her mom was, you know, working full shifts, double shifts. And, you know, I said to myself, I said, hey, you know, I got to figure out some way to make some sort of money for my family. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I have to, you know, stay at home and watch my daughter because we can't afford daycare. So how am I going to approach this? I had some, you know, background in PHP and HTML from high school. I took a high school class. And so I jumped on the internet, and I actually started in web design and development with, you know, some of those skills I had learned when I was about 19 or 20, very early part of my life. And just went from there, you know, landed some sort of big clients. I got Uber as a client very early on in search engine optimization, which was a blessing, because
God damn.
that was
like Uber, the car app? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, like back in 2011 when they first came out, like we were doing SEO for them, and it was crazy, right? But
so they outgrew you, is what you said, is what you're saying.
oh yeah, they went in-house. They 100% went in-house. Yeah, we were outranking them for their name and all kinds of stuff, and they weren't happy about that, so they went 100% in-house. But it gave me the tools, right? Because affiliate SEO is so hard. So now I'm in local, and I'm like, hey, this is really easy.
Yeah, that's why we're in local. Like it's so much. So you skipped the whole, like, you didn't go through that guru phase of like the online courses and stuff like that, like a lot of people seem to be doing.
No, I've never actually, I tell people all this time, I've never taken a course in my life. I had like 50 properties when I was first starting SEO, and I was just testing things left and right because I just really didn't believe what anybody saw or said, because I understood that nobody had a playbook on it anyways. They were just making a best guess.
You want to know a secret? Is I actually took a Ty Lopez course.
Oh my gosh.
It was 2017. And it was, so I had already wanted to start my own agency because Cody and I came from a marketing agency. We used to work at a large one, like $20 million agency together. And I was starting my own, but then like, his SMMA agency course or whatever. And I swear to God, if I hear DFY or SMMA one more time online, I'm going to lose my shit. But I started taking it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take notes. Like, granted, God, it's expensive. It was like $4 or $5 grand or something like that.
Wow.
And don't worry, I didn't pay all of it because you could pay as you go. Okay. And then I just stopped because halfway through they got to SEO and I was like, I know SEO pretty well. They got to SEO and they were teaching like black and gray hat stuff, like PBNs and all this stuff. And I'm like, and also stuff that wasn't working. Like they were talking about like the meta keywords. I'm like, guys, this is old. This is way old and it's not even working. And I was just kind of like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. But I will say the one thing I did get from the course, which I could have honestly got anywhere if I would have just done any research, was about niching down and picking a niche. And I mean, there's an argument to be said about people who don't pick a niche and just do a shotgun approach. But we found a lot of success in our niche, and I'm glad we did it. And if we were to do it again, I'm sure we would niche down again.
So I just have one question for you then. You don't have a Lamborghini sitting in your driveway that you record videos in front of?
No, but I'm installing a bookshelf in my garage.
my man, I'm waiting for the video.
So I've been thinking about like, if we ever make it big, like I would get a Lamborghini and just stick it in my garage and never drive it. And like anytime someone tries to call me out for not having a successful agency at $500 an average ticket price, I'm just going to send them a selfie with me in front of the Lamborghini.
That's what we did. That's what we did with a C8 Corvette. So I 100% endorse that. You do it, my friend.
Hell yeah.
So Schuyler, how long ago, you said you started getting into it. How long ago was that now compared to present day?
So if my memory serves me accurately, which I usually have to ask someone close to me how old I am, I believe I'm going to be 35 this year.
Okay.
So I started around 19 or 20, I believe it was. So about 15 or 16 years ago. Now, I won't say I've been in SEO that long, probably about 13 or 14 years, because it came about a year or two later after I had, got my bearings on web design and stuff like that.
Sure. So Service Lifter, how big are you guys now? Both people wise and then just general money wise income?
Yeah, absolutely. So Service Lifter, we have 12 employees right now, full-time. Well, one of them's part-time. We have one part-time employee, the rest are full-time, and then we have 37 writers. The writers are outsourced, and we created that team to kind of provide content as a white label service around the different industries. But in terms of people, we have staffed all the time working, 12. In terms of revenue, last year we did, like I said, we just got the books on it. It was about 1.6 million. And we're projected so far, I was looking at our accounts today, to be at around 2.1 to 2.2 million by the end of the year.
And you were telling me yesterday when we were prepping that your clients pay for their own ad spend. Is that correct? And you just bill them separately for the management?
That's correct. Yeah, we have them set up the account, whether it's being Google or Facebook, add us as an administrator, and then we bill them separately for multiple reasons, like we were discussing. But the main one is, when I got into this, I decided I wanted to be in SEO and in marketing. I didn't really want to deal with the tax situation. I really didn't know how to, because I had no prior experience. So we just have Google or Facebook or whatever bill them directly.
Yeah. So then, when you give us those numbers, those 1.6 and 2.2, like those are your actual gross profit numbers, because you don't have a cost of goods sold like we do, where we actually collect the ad spend up front from the client and then pay for it on their behalf. So whereas like your gross revenue is the same number as your gross profit. So our audience knows what we're talking about when we say this, because we hammer this on all the time. And when like companies like, yeah, I have $1 million e-commerce business and it's like $990,000 in ad spend or like in cost of goods sold. And then it's like, they made $10,000. I'm like, is it worth it? Like, Is it worth it to have that much risk? And then like, just to say, you know, flop your meat on the table and say, here, as a $1 million company.
Oh, yep. Nope. That's a gross profit, I think, as you called it. Yep. 100%.
It's awesome.
Nice. So, you got quite a bit of time in there. Like you said, nearly 15 years at this point. And, was there things along the way before Service Lifter? And you know, because that kind of goes in the face of what, probably a lot of people are judging themselves on, right? Because I remember when I first started getting into this too, it was like, what? I didn't make $100,000 my first year. Like, am I a failure? Am I a loser? Right? Because there's a learning curve. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like what it was like going from there, you know, from the start to where you're at now and everything that happened in that time in between there?
Sure, absolutely. So like you said, you know, a lot of people judge themselves on where your performance is today, but, you know, I try to be transparent in the fact that this is not my first, you know, time freelancing or owning an agency. Back in 2011, I think it was, I started a company called Number One Designs, which was just focused on web design, to be honest. But the problem I saw with that very quickly is, you know, you build a website and then they would hire somebody else to do SEO because I was only, you know, had my foot like halfway in SEO at that point.
And then the SEO people are the real money makers in the situation.
Right, exactly. You get your one-time fee, but you're out there constantly, you know, fishing for. You're not growing and harvesting your plants. You're fishing every single day, and it became a really large headache to try and get new clients.
We just had an episode on this on turning a graphic design service into a productized service. So it's along the same lines, which is like, if you do graphic design and like that's what you sell, like great. Now you got to keep fishing. But if you can productize it in a way of like, you know, maybe UX optimization with KPIs, then yeah, there you go. And it's the same reason like why we build websites, but we didn't want to. We just wanted to do what you do, basically SEO, PPC, but then realized we're in an industry where we have to build websites. But that's our foot in the door. It's just because we charge $4,000 for a website doesn't mean that it's our moneymaker.
Oh man, I'm doing it wrong. I'm giving away free websites. I got to adopt your guys' model.
You mentioned that a while ago after the spam update. You're like, I need to start charging for these websites.
No, I think what's nice is we're niche down. You know, like we were talking about earlier, we only take on like 3 or 4 different types of clients. So busting out a website is like a 24-hour, 48-hour process for us. So that's cool.
What is I'm stealing Cody's thunder, but what is Service Lifter? What's your guys' niche? Like tell us more about that, what you guys actually do.
So the niche that we heavily play in is carpet cleaning. And the reason for that is because my dad was a carpet cleaner, my stepfather, and he owned his small little carpet cleaning business, which came into my life a little later on when I was in my teenage years. But I know a lot about carpet cleaning, so I could empathize with carpet cleaners. I could talk to them about, you know, the PSI, the water extraction temperatures, things like that. So they felt that, you know, I was a good resource for them. And then slowly we moved into plumbing. And I've done a bunch of ride-alongs with plumbers, so I kind of know that niche too. And now we do some things like roofing and HVAC. And I won't say I'm an expert on those, but, you know, knowing SEO and carpet cleaning and plumbing, it kind of translates over to other local services for sure.
Yeah. At some point, it's just local lead generation. And, yeah, and you can do that. But I'm glad you brought this. This episode's already starting to kick ass because the last one we did, well, I'm speaking in the future, but also in the past. The episode that came out last week, which hasn't come out yet, it'll come out next week. That is actually about how to pick your niche. And we were talking about picking a niche that you're familiar with, that you're close to as an option. And, you know, one of our listeners who messaged me on Facebook had picked sleep centers as a niche. And I was like, that's weird. And he goes, yeah, but my partner has like a history with them and he knows them very well. I'm like, oh, okay. And then like sense. You with carpet cleaners, like it wasn't just like, you know, you're like, I'm just going to pick carpet cleaners. Like you actually could speak the lingo and that's part of it. Whereas a lot of these guys, I think out there they'll pick ones that think they have money, like real estate agents and lawyers and dentists and things like that, but they have no real connection to those niches.
Exactly. exactly. And that's why it's so hard for me in this industry, is because you have so many people out there who are just trying to sell based on a ticket and don't actually know the service industry, right? And if you don't know the service industry, how are you going to create good content for it? How are you going to create good, conversion rate optimization, on page tactics? You won't be able to. You're just throwing, stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So Schuyler, you said that first design company, then, is that what you had focused on? Was that like carpet cleaning businesses, or were you taking anything at that time?
I was taking anything at that time, and it's actually crazy because one of my first clients, I don't know if you guys remember this guy, he was called 10-second songs, but he was on YouTube, and he would do like 10-second intervals of styles of different songs. So he would do like Eminem in the style of Katy Perry. Yeah, Anthony Vincent Valbiro. Yeah, he was one of my first clients as a web design company. So that was totally, that was kick ass to be able to work with him. But it was just random website designs like that.
That's awesome. You've had some pretty cool. You were building websites and like the website boom, not the .com boom, but the actual website boom, where people with talent started branding themselves. That's awesome.
Popping up out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Now nobody has talent. Nobody wants a website.
So what came after that design company, but before Service Lifter, right? Because there's still probably some more time in there, or did you do it right up until that point?
No, absolutely. So yeah, during that time when I was building websites and stuff, just under number one designs, that's when I started to kind of transfer over into SEO. And then I got hooked up with a company called Promo Affiliates. They're still around today, but they had Uber as a client. And the owner came to me and he was like, "Hey, do you know SEO?" And I was like, not really. And he was like, "Okay, well, I have Uber and they want to do SEO. Can you SEO Uber for us?"
You're like, "I know SEO." Like you're like a Trinity in the Matrix, where she's like, "I can fly a helicopter now."
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. That's what he needed. And I was like, "Hey man, I'm going to learn it." So I sat down and for hundreds of hours was just glued to my computer, running through YouTube videos, testing websites, doing everything I could to try and make this affiliate deal work for my boss, essentially. And we ended up, again, Uber, like 400,000 activations over the next few years. That made a good portion of money. Following that, I worked at a local agency here in Tucson, Arizona for 3 years, I think it was, or something like that, because Uber had brought everything in-house. Essentially, they were like, "Hey, we're tired of paying out millions to affiliates. We're going to bring our SEO and our digital marketing in-house," which, made sense. But after that, I worked at an agency who took on local clients in Tucson, Arizona. They had about 60 or 70 local clients here for the city. And that's what kind of got me started on local SEO, to be completely honest. After that, I started my own little side agency while I was at that agency still, and they fired me for being local competition, and that's how Service Lifter got started.
Oh, so like almost like a compete clause, like you were competing against your own company you were working for?
I mean, I wasn't though, but they perceived it that way. So they only take on clients in Tucson, Arizona, and we were taking on clients nationally at that point. We had got a few carpet cleaners on the side, and we were trying to just generate some money on the side because there was some larger aspirations that I had and my business partner had, who also came from the same agency. So like you guys, we both got fired from the same agency with 3 days notice. And we had to race to put Service Lifter together, and somehow it worked out.
What year was that when you got fired and started Service Lifter? That
was July. I can tell you the exact date because I was just so surprised. I had invested all my eggs into this company, and I really loved working with them. They're a great company, actually. I have nothing bad to say about them. But that was July 28th of 2020.
July 28th, 2020. Oh, okay. So the Service Lifter boom is actually like relatively new.
We'll be 3 years in October of this year.
So,
nice.
Schuyler, I'm looking at your website and I see you're listed as owner, but then you've got another owner as COO. Is that who you're talking about? Your partner here?
That's exactly Victoria Leone. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it sounds like a similar thing to Jake and I in some ways, at least structurally.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't know if you guys got fired from your last job, but
no, Cody worked out a sweet deal though, because we were doing Evergrow and he was at his agency too, and he started. Well, I'll let you explain, Cody. It's your life.
Yeah, no, it was. I don't even know how to describe this. I have major respect for the place that I was at. I mean, I can give them a shout out. It's Spinu Tech. And at the time, I was there for about 5 years before jumping ship. And Mark Reifenrath is the CEO. When I started, it was very small. We all fit in a very small room. When I left, they'd gone through 2 acquisitions by then, and they were renting out hotels, right, to have meetups. Wow. But about a year before I ended up jumping ship, I told my boss, and I got up to Mark and I was like, hey, I want to go back to learn Japanese. You know, it's a weird thing. It's something I want to do though. It's kind of important to me. So I negotiated so I could take reduced required hours. So I was still full-time, but less, you know, a little less than 40. And so I could go back to school and move. So I was remote. And then I just gave them a heads up. You know, I'm like, look, I am learning Japanese because I like to do something with this. So sometime within, you know, now and when I graduate, I'll probably end up jumping ship. And in the spring, it was about like a month after I said that. So I meant to give them a longer heads up. Jake signed up an insane number of clients for us. And I had the panic of like, oh, what do we do? Right? Do I jump ship so we can make sure that this all goes as well as it can be? Or do I try to balance the two? And I was like, I'll jump ship. So
yeah, you told me, you're like, in the spring, you're like, yeah, by the way, by the fall, I'll be doing this full time. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I think a week later we had our owner meetup and you're like, so I put in my 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God.
Hey, I just want to take a second to commend your bravery, because that's just a jump that most people won't take. So congratulations on even believing in yourself enough to even do that, to be honest.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, but I mean, I told Jake though too, just so he didn't feel the panic. I was like, hey, I got a savings, so don't feel like, you know, if this starts to slide, that we got to go sign up people to make money. Like I'll be okay. But no,
so plan B.
Yeah. Plan B, or just like you know, even when I left, I told him like I could be back, you know, like I
we'll see what happens.
Hope this works, but you know, I don't hate it here. It's actually been pretty cool. So if I come back, you know, don't be surprised. But you know, that was what, Jake, 2 years ago at this point. So
yeah, 2021.
Yeah,
you still talk to Mark, right? Mark,
oh yeah,
Mike?
No, I bug him all the time, especially because he's done, I mean, similar things to this talk, right? Like, because Jake and I, Schieler, you know, we're smaller than you size wise. So we get to, I bug him about things that we just haven't hit yet. Like, hey, we're looking at this. How do we field it, right? Like, what's the best way to approach this and minimize casualties, like collateral damage, right? Because when you're growing and experiencing those new things that you've never done before, you're like, well, something's going to happen, right? And it's unavoidable, but you just learn along the way.
100%.
So I wanted to ask about this, because this is kind of like the main focus of what we wanted to talk to you about. Is your service and business model kind of flies in the face of a lot of guru preaching, right? Which is you got to have you know, clients on 2 to 3K retainers minimum. That's what you have to strive for, is getting that size of clients. And that's how you grow your business to be big. And you don't do that, right? I mean, you don't have that high of a minimum ticket requirement.
No, absolutely not. We do have some clients, plumbers and HVAC clients, who are in the $4,000 to $5,000 range, but they're definitely not the bread and butter of our services in terms of, you know, average tickets. And there's a few reasons for that. You know, if I lose a $5,000 plumber, that's somebody's whole salary for a year. If I lose a $400, $500, $600 client, or even $700 or $800 client, you know, life goes on, and we can, you know, acquisition another client. Not that we want to lose clients, but it just gives us some leeway to have, you know, both entry points, more or less.
Yeah. Well, churn is real. Like, it doesn't matter what business you're in. Like, churn is a real thing, and you're gonna lose clients.
100%.
You know, and whether that's when our number one reason that we lose clients, our clients get acquired or sell their business. That's literally our number one. And it happens way more often than you think, especially when you're offering like $600 services, for sure.
Especially right now too, with the way the economy is, I can't tell you how many, of our amazing owners have either sold their business or gone out of business or whatever has happened, but probably, 10 or 11 in the past 3 or 4 months. It's been quite a bit.
Yeah. And usually for the listener, when your customer is getting acquired, it's not usually a case where, the new owner then takes you on as their agency, because if that the new acquisition company, if they're big enough to buy your company, they probably have another agency. So that's just the reality of that. But I interjected there, Schieler. We were talking about more about your business model and some of your service offerings and how they're structured.
Yeah, absolutely. So for carpet cleaners, which is our main, average client, so to say, we have 3 different price points, and we actually just moved down to 3 different price points. We only had one price point at one time. And when we first started the company, we were actually taking on carpet cleaners for $2.99 a month. A lot of people don't know this, but because we didn't have any reviews, we didn't have, any social proof, we didn't have any way to substantiate ourselves in that particular niche. We got our first 10 clients at $299 per month. We got our next 10 clients at $4.99 per month, and then we got our next 10 at $8.99 per month.
This sounds eerily familiar.
Sounds like things we've talked about, Jake, right?
Hey, great minds think alike, right? Great minds think alike.
Here's the thing is that like there's a right way to do things, and there are like 1,000 wrong ways to do something. So right, I think when you have 2 businesses that are successful in the same industry, which is just marketing agencies, you're going to see a lot of similarities between, how we did things correctly and how you did things correctly versus someone else who has $3,000 monthly tickets at their lowest price and is struggling to make 6 figures.
And that's one of the major topics that people discuss in my inbox. They come to me and they say, hey, I can't land the client. And I say, okay, well, how much are you charging? And they're like, well, I'm starting at $3,999 a month, which I don't feel like is a lot. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't find you on Google. I can't find your business. I can't find anything about you. What makes you think that you can request, $4,000 a month from a client if I can't even find out anything about you? So it's perplexing to me.
I took a screenshot of this because I wanted to for my notes for this episode, but it was that the guy, you sent the screenshot to me about that guy who was like, he charges $500 an hour for his consulting service, consulting service. I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable there, on his consulting service. And you literally, the first line is, come on, bro, $500 an hour.
Yeah, that was just crazy to me. I couldn't find him on Google. I couldn't find any established client portfolio. Like, I actually went and did the work to see if he was worth $500 an hour, because if he was, I would have been like, hey man, I'm super proud. I'm happy for you. I hope that you can get it. But I couldn't find anything, about him. And that's not putting down him or his services. But if I can't substantiate who you are, I just don't know how I'm going to pay you $500 per hour.
Yeah. People out here charging like Gary V when, they're like Gary Dollar General.
Gary Dollar General.
So I've written this one down too, because, Schieler, if you have, you've got the experience at other agencies too. I feel like you probably have a pulse on this and maybe a way to handle this internally. And it's that with internal staff, when you start lowering your baseline requirement for clients and how much they have to pay you, usually that means you are increasing the quantity of accounts per employee, right? And that comes with a different kind of mental load than the kind of mental load that you give employees for having just a couple, like a small handful of very high ticket accounts. And like, in my experience, for me, that's been mentally shifting gears faster, right? I mean, it's not, you're not stressed because of the individual work on a particular account. You're just more so stressed by the quantity of accounts that you're working on. How do you handle that? And how do your employees feel about it? How do they I guess, receive it? And are there any ways that you kind of help to minimize the stress associated with just the sheer number of accounts?
I think that it comes down to making sure that the work is balanced for the cost of the account, right? If you have a $499 client, you cannot be providing the same amount of services as you do to a $5,000 client. Mm-hmm. There's just no way to facilitate that, more or less. $499, $699, whatever is the entry point, and hopefully you've communicated with your clients so that they understand that, hey, I only have this much to give based on what you have to give, and hopefully together we create a great partnership. In terms of, how that kind of spills over into the employee culture is, a lot of affirmations, a lot of processes, right? If you can create more processes as the owner of your company for all your employees, so they know exactly what to do, and you take away the time they would spend thinking about it, then they have less mental stress, as you called it, because you've already pretty much eliminated that for them and are mitigating all the mental stress that comes with it by providing efficient processes, in my opinion, or at least that's how we've dealt with it.
We talked about productizing services and how, like, our average ticket price is $750 a month, or at least that's our lowest. And mm-hmm. 250 of that is dedicated towards Google Ads. That's the minimum. It used to be 600, where 100 of it went to Google Ads, but then we increased that, but didn't increase the management. So the management's still 500. And I've had to have discussions with clients who wanted us to basically give them the world in SEO for that package. And, mm-hmm. Both of our hourly rates, as I saw you posted, are about the same, $125 an hour. And that's not how much we don't bill hourly, but we base our productized services off of an internal hourly rate of expected deliverability time. And what we communicate to our team is, hey, if someone's on the foundation package, which is a $500 management fee, we shouldn't be tracking more than 4 hours a month in that client in ClickUp. And if we are, that's fine. But if it's consistent, there's a problem. And either we need to back off or, see what the deal is. I've had, so when clients approach me and say, hey, I want you to do like competitor analysis, I want you to see what's linking to them and create like service pages or blah, 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 blah. I just say, hey, no, like we can tackle this, over a series of months. If you want us to, sure. But, we're not gonna do this in 1 month. And then I was pushed back and they asked why. And I just said, hey, what's your hourly rate? Like, what's your labor hour rate? And he goes, it's about $80-$90 an hour, depending on what it is. I'm like, okay. So if we just round it up to $100 an hour, and let's just say that's our hourly rate, how much work do you expect us to do based off of what you're paying us? And then he literally goes, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. So like, I knew like I was gambling for a second there, because I'm like, this could go one of two ways. And I was lucky that it went in that way. But at the same time, like, you got to push back and set those expectations with clients too. If they're paying you that much, yeah, you're not going to be doing everything for them, and they have to realize that. And I think a lot of these $3,000 a month SEO packages, I don't think a lot of those people know how to deal with limiting what they actually do for the client in a month.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to ask too, is how is this received by clients when they know that they're paying $400 a month? And how do you manage the expectations? And do you have any issues related to that in conveying the value that they're receiving?
So what's nice is we have the upfront conversation, like Jake was discussing. If you go to our website and you look at our packages for carpet cleaning, for example, it says right on the package how much time they're going to get per month. I think it's like between 2 or 4, up to 4 hours per month, or whatever the case may be. So right from there, because all of our payments are processed from the website, hopefully they have a understanding and a realization of how much hours are going to be put into their account on a monthly basis, which is dictated by the total cost of the productized service. If they don't, and some of them don't, I just spend the time really to educate them, because that's all it comes down to, right? Is putting yourself in their position. They don't run a digital marketing agency. They don't really know what goes into the labor. They don't know the costs. So I try to, give a lot of analogies and whatnot, so that they can, kind of get on the same page that we are, and understand that we're doing everything that we can, but at the current cost that they're on, it's going to be a effort over time rather than a shotgun and everything done in the next 30 days, which is kind of what I think was being described, more or less.
Your pack, I'm looking at your packages now, which, by the way, cool that you post your prices and everything online. Nobody does that, not even us. But also, it's almost like you and us have the exact same line items in our packages, except for it, like we don't have them tiered. And if our management fee is $500, so if we look at your starter, we don't do local SEO, we don't do citations or Facebook posting, but we do include Bing ads, Google ads in the, it's basically, it's the same. I mean, I don't know, Cody, if you're looking at it, but
yeah, I mean, makes sense. Like just a very productized approach.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask how you're, as the owner, how at this size now, right? Because it sounds like you've grown very quickly. I mean, you have the background to do it, right? You went through the pains of learning the optimal way to approach this, but within a matter of 3 years, if you're saying, and the mark of 3 and 4 that you're around 2 mil. Where is your time now spent? Where are you, you wake up in the morning and you do what, right? Like,
he drinks coffee and scrolls through Facebook.
I mean, that's exactly correct. My whole job at this point is acquisition, right? And looking over everybody else's work to make sure it's done correctly, and trying to create more processes. Essentially, I'm trying to figure out how to make our people faster, stronger, better built, so that we can continue to take on more clients. They can continue to make more money. I don't even want to make more money anymore. I don't know if you guys have made it to like the 42% tax bracket, but I'm done making money. To be completely honest, I'm over it.
Yeah, I think I'm getting pretty close. I'm like 30% I think.
Yeah, even that's insane, right? Like, you have the IRS taking half your money. So my whole job is spent figuring out how to make my employees more money, my clients more money, a lot of business consultation, to be honest, because, my stepdad worked in carpet cleaning. So a lot of carpet cleaners will come to me and say, hey, how can I make my business more profitable? So I spend a lot of time going over that with them as well. So that's more or less how my time is spent now.
Do you sell that? Do you sell like the consultative services on the side?
I don't. I have a philosophy, which again goes against most gurus. Unless I'm doing the work for you, I'm not going to charge you for it.
Mm-hmm. I'm consulting with a French company out of Canada right now, and like nice. It's just basically auditing and doing things for SEO for them. Not doing things, but just kind of auditing their SEO. And I charge that as a consulting service, but it's not $500 an hour like our friend on Facebook.
I would assume it'd be a much more reasonable rate that they can probably afford.
I do when it's just me, I do $100 an hour. When Evergrow's involved, we base things off of $125 an hour. But
I think that's a wonderful consultation rate.
Yeah, I keep stressing this too, like especially when you're dealing with productized services. I keep saying like hourly rates, like reminder, like we're not billing hourly, like we're building a package that's based on an hourly rate.
Right.
Right. That's more for the audience there.
No, I think there's a lot of confusion that goes into that, and I just want to touch base on that. Everybody asks me what our hourly rate is, and yes, on the internal side of it, like you said, it does break it down into an hourly rate, but it's more so based around profitability and hours for the account. 100%.
Yeah. Hourly rate's $125, but you're still going to be billed for 4 hours. Like it does, like if it takes an hour or 30 minutes, like
100%.
So what I mean, it doesn't sound like you've had many struggles, but I do think it's worth just asking and maybe finding out. And maybe there have been growing pains. Maybe that's the struggle is growing as quickly as you have. But with the most recent few years of your life, and with Service Lifter, what struggles have you seen that maybe you didn't expect, or, you know, were harder than the things that you had experienced in the past?
I think that the hardest struggle for me was, it's an internal struggle that I deal with every day. And it's, you know, the perfectionist syndrome. When you own an agency and you're involved in it every day, which we were in the beginning, I wanted to be a part of everything, which led to a lot of chaos internally with my team because I couldn't let go of the vine, as it's called. And so, you know, through iteration, through peer reviews, actually, we have a peer review process, and through understanding what, you know, other people felt that I needed to work on in the company, I've kind of overcame those barriers and focused more on helping my team overcome their barriers rather than feeling like I needed to take control of everything. And I know that's kind of a weird, you know, thing to say, but when you come from, you know, freelancing and just being in control of everything and then running your own business in the past, you feel like it's not going to be done the exact way you want it unless you're doing it, and you cannot scale a company that way.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem letting go of the vine. I think that's a Cody thing.
Hey, that's next question. Next question.
We dug deep there. I had a Cody, does your next question relate to the previous one, or can I ask one?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I've been getting a lot of people, or not a lot, but recent people who have come to me in my niche, in the landscaping and lawn care niche, have a strong detest for marketing agencies because they've been screwed over one way or another, and out of a ton of money. And the question I get asked a lot is, why are you guys so much cheaper than everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get that a lot?
So I'll be honest, we don't get that a lot. Carpet cleaners expect for some reason to pay a very low amount, so they do not ask us that. They won't even consider any higher price packages, to be completely honest.
That makes sense. Yeah, well, we've got agencies in our niche, like, I guess, quote, competitors, who are, you know, who have like a minimum monthly price of like $2,000-$3,000 a month, and
gotcha.
That's just like SEO and like basic Google ads management without ad spend. And, you know, when they look at us and they say ours is $750 a month for our basic one, and then they can increase the ad spend to whatever they want, they're like, well, either these guys just suck, or like,
they're bait and switch.
Yeah. And so I explained it to him, was like, well, they don't know. I know who they're talking about. I know which competitor they're talking about. And I know their numbers because we've talked about it. And I was like, well, I don't think they actually know how to price their services. They're very much into like the whole agency guru thing, like the whole the seven figure what conferences and things like that.
Grant Cardone, 10x your services.
Exactly, 100%. Yep. Yeah. I read that 10x book, and it was such a load of crap. When I started Evergrow, I started reading books that all the other landscapers are reading, just so I could get in their heads. Yep. And 10x popped up a bunch. So I was like, okay, I want to read 10x. And I remember getting halfway through the book. I'm like, this book sucks. Like, it's like, oh, you're not doing enough? Just 10x it. Ugh. So, but I read it, and now I can talk about it, and it's built that for me. But I was telling Lauren this, my fiance. Like, this is what I told him. I was like, they just don't know their numbers as well as we do. Like, we base it off of labor hours, and we know exactly what's worth it. And she's an economist. Like, she actually has an economics degree. And she's like, well, what I would have said was, we are lower price because we have a lower cost of overhead and aren't paying for services or paying for software and capital expenses that we don't need, so we don't pass that bill on to you. And that rings true too, because they've got an office, they pay for a bunch of SEO software. We don't pay for any SEO software. We're 100% remote, and none of these expenses are even a consideration for us. So everything that comes in is pretty much pure profit, except for like payroll, our domain, and our emails, and our reporting.
I think that's a good answer. To be completely honest, I think it really resonates with business owners. I can only think of one time that somebody asked me that, And honestly, the answer that I gave them was, if you're good at something, you should be able to do it quicker than somebody who's not as good at it.
That's a good one too.
So in my opinion, in carpet cleaning, because there's not many competitors like you guys, it sounds like you have a lot of other agencies competing in the same space, right?
Yeah.
We don't because the average carpet cleaning ticket's only like $175.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's not like reoccurring like lawn care is. Well, lawn care, like every month you get $100. Yeah.
No. Yeah. They're always fishing. Right. So, that's the one time somebody asked that, I told them that. I said, look, I can get the same results in 2 hours that most SEOs can get in 10 hours because of our processes. So that's why my payments are structured the way they are, or my prices.
That's a good answer too. It's very rarely do I hear the objection, why are you guys so cheap? And when I hear it, I'm just kind of like, I'm like, I don't know what to say. So,
what do I say? Why are we so cheap? Then you start questioning your life decisions.
But then I'm like, but we're so profitable.
Right, exactly. If you're making profit and net and everything, then what's it matter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we talked a lot about advantages, but I'm interested to know, and I guess, you haven't been around that long in the big scheme of things, but what does your employee retention look like? I mean, because I know there's a balance between, if you have everything systematized and processed out, then of course you can bring somebody relatively new in and they can do it quickly, right? You don't have to spend a lot of time training them. But if you're, like you said, hoping to pay them more, then most likely you're trying to build people too, right? With skill sets and make them more valuable so that they're worth more. Do people stick around? Have you struggled with that? Is it something that's at the top of your mind? What are your thoughts on it?
So this is an interesting topic, guys, and I talk about this a lot, and a lot of people just don't get it, even business owners and other businesses. But so when we created this company, I was working at the previous agency, like I discussed, and I was making, 6 figures per year. I was making really good money. I had a sports car. I had a nice condo, whatever. When we got into Service Lifter, I went and traded my brand new 2020 Camaro LT or whatever it was, ZL1 for a Hyundai Elantra. I went and reduced my 3-bedroom apartment down to a 1-bedroom apartment. I literally cut all my bills down to about 1/4 of what I was paying, so that I could pay myself $2,500 per month and still make it. So what the goal was, and what a lot of business owners don't think out, is, hey, if I want to hire somebody to do this work for me, I have to pay them a decent wage or a salary or whatever it is. I have to keep them around. The job market is super competitive right now. I can't be taking, all this money from my company and not giving anything back. So for the first year, me and the other business owner literally lived off $2,500 per month. The first person we hired, actually from that agency, who was a long-term 22-year friend of mine, we paid them $4,500 a month. So we paid them almost twice what we made. Mm-hmm. And by hiring them, we got all our time back so we could focus on sales and then begin to scale.
Yeah,
right?
See, then you were making $2,500 before. You were making $2,500 a month, working 50 hours a week, and now you're making $2,500 technically, only having to work 15, 20 hours a week.
Exactly. So I got
on a per hour basis, you made more by hiring somebody.
Right. Exactly. And a lot of business owners don't understand that. They want to take all their extra profit to their pocket. But the thing that keeps our employees around is, somebody with no experience, we start at $22 to $24 per hour. It's unheard of, right? Like most people want to start everybody at 16, 15, whatever it is. I don't know anymore, but I know that's what we started at the old agency I worked at. So by scaling in the appropriate way and making sure that we started the business out correctly, we're now able to take more money and put it back into our people. And I'm proud to say that no one has ever quit. We have let one person go, but no one has ever quit.
Nice. Yeah, I think, what are we starting? We have the part-timers at 16 an hour.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then we had a full-time person who was actually in 2021 to 2022. She was with us for just over a year. And yeah, there were months where she made more than us. And I can't remember what we paid her, like $40,000, I think, a year. I think it was close, but yeah, there are definitely months where she had more income than Cody and I had. And we're just like, well, now we can focus on scaling.
That's sometimes the way it is. If we hire somebody new and we lose a $5,000 client, I will take money out of my personal paycheck to make sure they get paid. And to me, that's the responsibility of an owner. If you're going to help provide a life for the people around you, then you have to make sure that you have set that up in a way that is, financially feasible.
Yeah. Cody talked about this with his fiance too, which was like, she was like, "Oh, I love how much freedom you guys have, like being business owners." And it's like, what freedom? Like technically, like if you want to be done with your job, you can just walk out that day and never have to look back. Like we will ruin people's lives if we just decided not to work anymore.
Right. 100%. All your clients, all their families. I don't think people realize, like, even you guys at however many clients you have, not only are you affecting those clients, but you're affecting those clients' families and the relationships that those families have. So the, stratosphere in which you operate, the whole, bigger picture, you're making waves and changes. And a lot of people don't really understand that until they're responsible for people. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. I had two more because I know we've been talking for a while now, but I just want to give you the chance to say whatever you wanted to our listeners, and something that you think they'd benefit from hearing, knowing that they're going either they're most likely not quite as far along as you, or they haven't even made the jump yet. So anything that you think that would really help them.
I think if I had to say one thing to our listeners, it would be that it's important to make sure that you're operating within a feasible structure that whatever niche or industry you're in finds value in. A lot of people, when they get into business, they don't understand that there is a perspective of how much money a service should be worth, or how much a product should be worth. And by understanding how your supply and demand curves more or less intersect, you can find that perfect price. And it's going to be different for every niche. In plumbing, it's much different than carpet cleaning. In SaaS, it's much different than plumbing. So it's important to do the consumer research and to have a business plan set forth before just jumping in. But I do think that it is important to, at some point, go all in. If you never go all in, you're never going to put 100% into what you're doing, because the risk and reward ratio isn't high enough. You're always going to have one toe in the water, one foot in the door, and you're never actually going to propel yourself into, what I call the obviously uncomfort zone. And that's where growth takes place.
Nice. The discomfort zone or the uncomfort zone?
Discomfort zone. There you go. Thank you. Same thing, right? Just that word doesn't
I didn't know
exist.
if you were like coining a new phrase or what. And I was like, I want to know.
Hey, trademark it, bro. Trademark it.
It's when you're uncomfortable,
Yeah.
Right.
I have a couple of questions
Sure.
that I wanted to ask. Okay, so what are you selling? Are you selling rank? Are you selling leads? Or like, what's your value prop?
So it's interesting. I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday. Our value proposition is that we get more leads and generate more revenue today. And we can actually do that if, for example, our client has a past customer list. We will start a remarketing campaign the second they sign up to get more leads in the door, more or less, while we work on acquiring more leads. But we do not sell rank. I'm very transparent. I let our clients know that I don't control Google. I don't control rank. The only thing I guarantee is a faster website that's built in a more technologically sound way. But at the end of the day, we're trying to increase revenue and bottom line revenue.
I like it. Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. We track leads and then like form fills, phone calls, and emails from the website. And then we tell our clients, hey, like if we have on our website, we have a section. It's my favorite section of all. It's the why you shouldn't work with us section. And
I love that.
And it's literally like, we expect you to have some kind of technological savviness. And if you don't know how to install email on your phone, like we're not the clients for you, or we're not the ad agency for you. And then there's another one, which is like, hey, we're a month-to-month service. We provide leads. We see the leads on our end, but if you don't communicate to us that the leads are bad for 6 months, then that's on you.
Right.
And then and if you're not going to communicate with us at all, then you probably shouldn't work with us. So yeah, leads is our primary focus. So Schieler, I always say this to clients, because every time I get on like a sales call, and or prospects, I should say, and they say, "Hey, I want to increase my rank," and I always say, "Why?" And they say, "I want more leads." I'm like, "Well, those two aren't necessarily related, because what if we got you to rank 1 for every keyword you were targeting, and then you got 0 leads? More leads? Yeah, would you be happy with us?" And then every time they say, "Well, no, like I want the leads." I'm like, "Oh, so you don't care about the rank then? You only care about the leads, and you just think rank is a way to get there." And
I love that you brought that up, man, because so many people don't understand the difference. So it's refreshing to know that somebody else is out there talking about leads and trying to get the conversation away from rank.
Yeah, and rank is such an arbitrary term, because it's like, for us, it's like, what do you? They're like, I'm ranked for number 1. For what? And they're like, well, like landscaping company. I'm like, what if no one's searching that? What if people are searching for landscaping services? Like, what are you ranking for that? And so that's why it's like, we don't focus on rank at all. If the leads are down year over year, then we might look at your rank. Is rank influencing it, or is it a market thing? Right. But yeah, my last question though, I only had one more that I really wanted to ask you, which was, Cody and I are going through some really big growth changes right now. Big. And where we are about to bring on potentially a franchise with over 100 locations. Wow. And this would not just double our business, but it would triple it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's not through yet, so I'm not going to.
It's going to go through. It's going to go through, man. I'm holding my breath for you. I'm going to turn blue over here. No, it is. It is. We've spoken the magic word.
So, but not only this, but this franchise owner, then just referred us to another, not franchise, but a distributorship for other companies who sell that product. It's basically a franchise. So just imagine another franchise we got promoted to or referred to. Okay. And it already feels like we're a shoo-in for that. So it's like, okay, we're going to experience some huge growth right now. I want to know to get where to Cody and I are now. It's been a fight. Like, we've grown like very heavy year over year. Some years we had 100% growth. Other years, this most recent one, we had 20% growth. Okay. And every year it seems like we do something awesome to really change the game for us. But this next step is the game changer of game changers for us.
Sure.
You have grown Service Lifter really quickly over the last 3 years in comparison to us, because we're already year number 4. What have been some of the biggest game changers for you in terms of like acquisition and actually getting revenue in the door?
Honestly, strategic partnerships. We have a little different model in terms of our strategic partnerships. And I know that a lot of people disagree with this, but this has really helped us grow. For example, we have we'll just call them an affiliate. We have a quote unquote affiliate in the carpet cleaning space who recommends us to all carpet cleaners. This particular carpet cleaner has the largest non-franchised carpet cleaning company in the world. So they're highly revered and looked at for their space, more or less. To be completely transparent, we give them 15% of whatever monthly lead comes through the door from them on a reoccurring basis. So yearly, they're up to about $52,000 per year just in referrals. And that referral money will never go away. So they continue to keep referring people to us time and time again. We have now created a strategic partnership with a person who's an HVAC in the same space, doing the same things with a very large HVAC company who a lot of other companies look up to. So by creating these strategic partnerships, as I like to call them, you're getting your foot in the door into other industries, and you're using somebody else's social proof to help boost your own until you have your own social proof and kind of can stand on your own feet, if that makes sense.
That is awesome. Because that's almost what I feel like getting involved with this franchise was like. I mean, we got one client who had his own landscaping business, and then he bought into the franchise as a franchisee. And then he used to own his own marketing agency as well. So to get him on our side of being like, yeah, I trust these guys, these are great. And then he's been such a strong advocate for us up the flagpole. And that's what got us involved and have a meeting with the franchise. And then, after that, we're just associated with them, and it's already started to get legs. And
if I could give you any advice, man, it's do everything you can to keep those strategic partnerships and the referrals coming in. For us, a lot of it comes down to money and paying a monthly referral fee, which I'm totally down for if it keeps unlimited leads coming through the door. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it worked for us.
Yeah. Speaking of leads coming through the door, sorry, one more question. I want to make sure I squeeze all the juice out of this orange. When you first started Service Lifter, what was your go-to-market strategy? How did you get clients? Because we did it based off of just SEO. You type in lawn care marketing company, we're number one. Oh, lawn care marketing. Lawn care marketing company. Yeah, we're number one.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. So for us personally, when I got fired with 3 days notice, I only had $4,000 or $5,000 in my bank account. My partner barely had any money. She has a family to feed, kids, so forth and so on. I started jumping into Facebook groups associated with carpet cleaners and with plumbers. And I went to the search bar at the top and I typed in SEO, marketing, web design, and any posts that I found where somebody was even remotely talking about something. They were asking questions about GMBs. They were saying their GMB got suspended. I was just leaving very long form replies on the posts, more or less. And I even did a lot of free pro bono work. I would go and get somebody's GMB reinstated. I would do a free Google Ads audit. I would do a free website audit. And over time, and with our strategic partnership with the carpet cleaner I mentioned, people started seeing, me as a relevant resource to the group that they could call upon or use. And then everything just spread like wildfire, to be completely honest. But I was spending probably 10 hours a day doing this in the beginning.
Dude, this is stupid. This is we're like kindred spirits, because this is literally how we started getting our first clients. And even if you listen to the previous episodes, this is how I tell people get clients. Go to Facebook groups in your niche and be helpful. And long form answers. Don't or shortcut it and just say contact me or I sent you a DM or whatever. It's seriously, just do the work for free, and you become that strategic partner for that group. And we've become a strategic partner for a group who has their own podcast and everything like that. And we even rebuilt their website, and they promote us. And it's we're at 100% on, in sync with exactly how we started getting our clients. And it's exactly why I wanted to bring you on here, because you're 10 times larger than us. And you grew and are growing and have productized your services almost identically to how we have. So it's just kind of more proof that, yes, this is the model that works.
I think it's awesome that, we're able to discuss these things, because a lot of people won't take our model because, it's free work. You deserve to be paid for your time, or whatever the case may be. I have a really strong philosophy at my company, and I don't talk about it enough. I should. I tell, our clients and our employees all the time, we only get to live our dreams when we help others live their dreams. And so by taking that approach and always making sure I help others live their dreams, it's been very rewarding, and not just monetarily, spiritually, emotionally, so forth and so on. And it sounds like you guys have taken the same approach, more or less.
Yeah, I would say. I don't think we would say it like that because it sounds kind of girly, but yeah, I think you're right.
That's the Zig Ziglar, right? You can get everything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want in life.
Right.
It's true.
It's true, right? As long as it comes, I think it has to come from a good place. When it doesn't come from a good place, or it's motivated by greed, I think people see through it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, Cody, you had one more question. Sorry, I stole your thunder.
Well, yeah, we just got to give him a chance to plug himself. So, Schieler, if people like listening to you, they want to follow you more, they want to see what you're up to, where can they keep up with you?
So I always recommend Google SEO Mastermind on Facebook. You can just type it into the top. It should bring up the group that, me and Jake are both affiliated with, and they can go from there. I would say go to the website, but we're not taking on any more clients right now for probably the next 6 months. So don't go there and look.
And if you see me post in the group, I go under Maddie Jake Hunley, not just Jake Hunley, like in the podcast. So if you ever see a guy in there and you're like, who is this guy? Shut up. It's me. Schuyler, you said you aren't taking on any more clients. Do you do like white label stuff for other agencies?
We do white label stuff for other agencies. We've kind of grown into that. I have some reservations about moving forward with it, just because usually we're white labeling for other SEOs or other web designers, which can create points of contention. But we do currently do some white labeling, yes.
Well, there's an episode that I want to have later on about why we don't white label. Well, why I don't like white labeling, and I have a philosophy that the more you, especially if you're starting out. If you're starting out and you're white labeling, you're just working for somebody else. And,
100%.
And you know, you don't want to fall into that trap of not taking your business where you want to take it.
100%. No, I think that's a good point. When we first started out, we also refused to white label. Wasn't even a thought. We had been approached by it, but we always turned it down. And it's simply for the reason that you stated. And I think it's a great point. You know, you want to build your reputation, not somebody else's.
Yep. Yeah. Perfect. Well, Cody, is that everything you had?
That's all I got.
All right, man. Well, Schuyler, that was awesome. I'm really happy you jumped on this podcast. You on Facebook, you had said somewhere that you're like, this is why I don't do podcasts within the SEO community. And I was like, well, you better do a podcast for me.
If I have a kindred spirit with them, like you mentioned earlier, I'm more than happy to jump on a podcast. It's just that, you know, I don't identify with most SEOs out there, and most people trying to get into agency niches ends up in too many arguments and just, you know, poor debates. So it was really a blessing that you guys asked me. So I really appreciate it. I've never done a podcast or interview or anything in the past because I don't get along with most SEOs, if I'm being 100% honest.
I don't either. I've talked about this before. Like, I hate this industry so much.
Hate it. I wish they would call me something else, or they could make a separate identifier, right?
Yeah, right. Real OG.
Real OG.
All right, man. Well, it was good chatting with you. Maybe we'll have you on again sometime.
All right, cool, man. It was a blessing. Congratulations with your guys' success. I hope that it continues forward. I hope to hear more about the franchises that you guys are going to 100% get. And here's to your growth, guys.
Thanks, cool. Man. We'll be in touch.
Sounds good, guys.
All right, bye.